Hey guys, welcome to DevOps School. In this video tutorial, we are going to learn about Kubernetes. Kubernetes is developed by Google and it is an open source platform that automates container operations. It eliminates many of the manual processes involved in deploying and scaling containerized applications. After going through this tutorial, I promise you that the concept and understanding of the Kubernetes will be absolutely clear to you.
But before that, let me ask you a few things. Are you dreaming of a career with higher pay and more responsibilities? Or are you ready to take your skills to the next level this year? Then start investing in DevOps School certification level courses which will help you to emerge skills for a wide range of entry-level roles and as well as higher potential future positions. But with thousands of courses online and in classroom worldwide, finding the right one for your career goals can be difficult. You can consider our courses like Agile Developer, Agile QA, DevOps Certified Professionals, Site Reliability Engineering, DevSecOps, and Masters in DevOps Engineering, where you will have access to well-structured, easy-to-follow course content that has been developed and will be delivered by industry professionals. You can join on our training programs globally through online platforms, and if you are looking for classroom workshops, then we have regular sessions available in Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, Delhi NCR, Mumbai, and in Pune. Simply compare our many courses, find the one that suits your style and schedule best, and start today.
For authorization, we are using following methods. We are having following method: node-based, ABAC, RBAC, webhooks. Out of which RBAC, which I'm going to discuss, which is production using ready and everyone uses it. Now the concept of RBAC is pretty simple and it's not something which is new. It's a very old concept. So typically what happens, first you define all kind of resources. Resource 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 50, 60, 70, 80, all the resources. Now how do you see that which are the resources you have? So these resources we have if you run the kubectl hyphen space API hyphen resources, you will see all the resources. Now guys, you have these resources has been grouped together also. This is a group, right? Apps group, v1 group, remember guys, groups also, correct?
Yeah.
So now these are the resources. Okay, I'm just helping, I mean just trying my bad drawing skills to explain it to you. So here these are the resources and these are the groups. Now we have a curl verb. Actually the verb is something we call it something like, in simple way I'll put it: read, write, execute, get, watch, this, that. Okay, so these are the verb we have. So which are the verb we have? Let me show you here. VERB. Do you have a verb? Look at this here. These are the verb we have: get, list, create, update, patch, watch, delete, collection. In simple way, CRUD operation: read, write, delete, this, that. So these are the verb we have: we read, write, delete, update. In short, okay, CRUD operations. Okay, so this is, we call it a verb. Now what happens? This is the resources, this is the group of resources, this is the verb which you can do. Now either you apply on the user, you apply on the user, but if you do like this, it will be too much of headache. Why? Because you know, in a team you have a 30-40 people and you don't want to manage those complexity, because everyone wants different access and all. So typically what you do, you create a role. What is a role? Role is like a kind of group. Okay, you created a role like a dev role, QA role, and production role, okay, or admin role, dev, QA, admin role. So now what access you want to give it to the dev, you define in this role. So here you decided I'll give this resources and plus this verb. Okay, did you understand that, guys? In this role you decided I will give development this resources, this some resources or group, resource or group, anything you can specify, and then this verb I'll give: read, write, execute, whatever it is, get, watch, this, that, out. Okay, so now you created a role. So how many roles you created right now? Dev role, QA role, admin role. Now what you will do, you will give this access to the user or group. Now you must be wondering, what is a user? The user which you created, employee, And what was the group I created? I forgot. Anyone remember that? What was the group I created?
Some OBNet, something
No,
like this.
Bitnami. Bitnami. Yeah, Bitnami is
Bitnami,
very.
yeah.
Bitnami is very innovative ways to deploy the applications. I love it actually. I'm using in many server. Okay, so Bitnami was group. So you can assign this to the user or group. So if you assign to the group, this group is different from the role. Remember, this is a user group. This is the group which this is the role which is combining the resources plus verb, access verb. So typically I'll not do this group. I will directly assign to user. So now if you have a 50 user, you divide this 50 user in dev, QA, and admin, and accordingly you add it. So this is a RBAC process. Did you understand this?
Yeah.
Okay, everyone.
Yes.
Yes.
Now we need to know what are the roles we need. What are the API resources for this? So guys, there are two kind of user. Yeah, there's a two kind of user. One is a normal user, me and you. Okay, and other is service account user. So what is a me and you understand very easily, but what is a service account user? Service account user is basically used for authenticating. Understand that service account user is being used to authenticate the internal services itself. Internal services like a API server, controller, scheduler, etcd, this, that, and all, pod. So internally, I mean, you can say it's like a system. If you know AWS, in AWS we have a one account we call it create one group we create a role. Do you remember role? Something like that. Role for the inter service authentication. Do you remember?
Yep.
I am role. Okay, something like that. So here service account is used for inter service authentication only. Okay, now I don't know whether you noticed or not. Let me show you, if I can show you. Here, if I run kubectl metric server, I'm again this deploying it. So kubectl apply -f components. So see here, look at this here. Where is this? Do you see service account? Do you see here? Service account. So this service account will be doing what? You know, this service account will allow this metric server to get the data from the API server. Without this, you will not be able to get the data from the API server. Okay, API server will not allow. So for this service account is been used to authorize the metric server to get the data. So basically, when you want the internal system like a Prometheus, metric server, or like some other services which you want to install it, then you have to use the service account. Okay, so now this is the two type of group. Now guys, how can you create user? Normal user cannot, no API, simple way, no API resources for it, simple. So how can you create? In fact, you have created, all of you have created. I don't know what is the name you kept it, but all of you have created already. Okay, mine was employee. I don't know about you. By the way, I can come to know how many of you have done this lab immediately. So kubectl config view, and here I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's me. 6, 7. Why only 5 people have done it? Why? What was the reason? I given you lots of time actually. So this is the default. This is me. So I think we got only 4 people done. 4 or 5 people. 5 people. Why, guys? Are you finding any difficulties?
You told to clear up the data once it's done, right? So we are clearing after it's done.
No, but we were needed for that. Okay, no problem. So you will do that one more time. Okay, it just take
Yes.
2 minutes to create now. Okay, because just a few seconds, just 4 commands. If you understand the concept, will not take more than two minutes also. Okay, so please create it because you need it for the RBAC. Okay, so here normal and service. So normal account you have, normal user you have created, and the process already I explained it here. Now service account, there is a API. Okay, now that's good. Now the question is, how do we create a role, this role? Okay, so guys, there is a two role also. One role is role only, and another role is cluster role. Yeah, cluster role. Now the question is, what is this role? What is this role? So guys, this role you can use only for the namespace. Please hardcode this step. This role you can only use for the namespace. Are you getting my points, guys? Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah. And this space, this role you can use for the cluster wide. Okay, this role you can use for the cluster wide. Now in the role you will specify all the API resources or group and what access you want to give. That's all. So guys, so far is that okay, clear?
Yes.
Okay, now the question is, guys, how can we add user to user or service account? I mean normal user or service account, normal user and user, and service account to role and cluster role. That's how can we do that? How can we do that? So guys, there is a two APIs again we have available. We call it role binding. Yes, this process of adding user or group to the role is called role binding, and then other one we call it cluster role binding. Cluster role binding. So guys, how many objects we have learned so far? 1, 2, 2, altogether 5. So guys, this is the RBAC system. I'll show you the demo, but before that I would like to tell you, see here, in fact metric server has done it. Let me show you those. See, I did one more time. Look at this here. I will copy this and you see here what they did. This is the deployment and this is the service. Forget about it. This is not needed anymore. Now I'm talking about only this. So see here, first thing they have created cluster role. See here, cluster role they created, and then they created service account. Okay, here, and then they added service account to the cluster role binding. This is the one flow, cluster role binding. Now what they did, they added this service account to the role also. Which role? There was one role which is already exist for this. That is the this is the role binding. Sorry, not exist. It got created here. I see here cluster role. So here you created a, again here your cluster role binding. You're creating two, one for aggregate, one for metric server. So here this is basically service account for metric server, and cluster role binding RBAC, this is for metric server. This is a cluster role binding. So this is also they are doing this, and role binding which is happening somewhere here. So basically see what they are doing. This account they are adding in one role which is level system level, cube system level, and then they are doing this one. Okay, so altogether this is what is happening. So we'll have to do the same thing. We'll have to create service account, user account we have created already. We have to create a role, you have to create a cluster role, you have to create a role binding, you have to do the cluster role binding, and accordingly we'll complete this session. Did you understand this, guys?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so now I need all this code. Now the code I'm going to copy it from my notes, previous notes, and that is available to somewhere here. So guys, I'll copy that code.
Hello. I'm not sure if I'm not able to hear myself or everyone.
No. He just went mute. I think he died.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, my the broadband connection has got offline because of power gone. So I'm connected with the mobile internet. Just a second, give me 2 seconds. Okay, so hope you can hear me clearly, guys.
Yeah, Rajesh. Right.
Yeah, think so.
Yeah. So now we have a role here. We have a role here. This is the role. Look at this here very carefully. I'm creating one role. And what role? This role I said already very clearly. Role for namespace. So which role? Which namespace? So here Rajesh namespace. Okay. What is the name of this deployment manager? What access you want to give? I told you here. Look at this image. Here you can assign resources or apps group. Okay, so here you see API group, which are the things, extensions and something like that. Resources, which one? So deployment, replica set and pods. What verb you want to give access? So get, list, watch, create, update, patch, delete. In short, if you want everything, star you can also use it, but I used it this one so you can understand that which you can keep it, which you cannot keep it. So this is the one role YAML file. You can create a role through command line also, but guys, but this will be a little bit difficult to edit, so we have a YAML file for it. Make sense?
Yep.
Hello.
Yes.
Okay, so now let me create a role. CentOS and Kubernetes Rajesh, and here mkdir. I will create one directory which is rback, cd rback, and here is a nothing, so I'll create role.yaml and copy paste. Now qctl create -f role. Okay, -n Rajesh. Though that's okay, you created role. Now get role -n is equal to Rajesh. So here you see that role got created in my namespace deployment manager. Now this role is created. Now next thing is I will do the role binding. Which role binding? That means adding user to the role. So see here, this is the role binding. Okay, this is the beta version. You can use the updated also. Role binding, I think it got released v1. So you have to convert into that. So if you want to do that, this code I use in 2019 and that's the reason you have a beta. But I saw that it's a API version. So here rback, see you got a stable also, so you can use this one also, this one also. Little bit of changes will be there. You have to use convert command to convert that YAML, which I said already. Okay, here convert command somewhere it's here. Okay, so now yeah, so let's use this one. So here what you are doing, role binding, but to what? So here name of the role binding, which namespace? Rajesh namespace, and which user? Here you can kind is equal to user also, but here I have a employee, and which API group, and what is the
Sound is dead again.
Sound gone. Okay.
the role which you want to add it? Deployment manager. Guys, if you are
Sorry.
finding issues hearing me, please do let think.
Yeah, we actually didn't hear you for like the last 30 seconds or so. Hello?
Hello, do you hear me?
Rajesh,
Yeah,
last
we
1
lost you
minute.
about a minute.
Yeah. So guys, internet has come suddenly, so it occupied my Wi-Fi. So guys, where I was, any idea?
Can you repeat from the group? I mean API group.
Here, right?
No, below example.
Okay, this one.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
talked about kind user from there.
Yeah. So here now role binding we are doing, that means adding this particular user employee to this role. This is done by role binding. So now for the role binding, of course, which namespace? Rajesh namespace. Whether you want to add a user or group, so kind is equal to user, name of the user, API group, everything not specify, and then which role definition. So here role definition is deployment manager, which you have to specify from here, and then API group again, everything. So this is the role binding, you are doing it. So let me do the RB, restart, CentOS, CD, Kubernetes, Rajesh, RBAC, and here rb.yaml. And guys, this is the role binding I did, kubectl, and create -f rb.yaml and -n Rajesh. So that is done. So guys, role binding has done. That means user employee should be able to be a part of this group, this role, which is a role deployment manager, and he should be having this access of the namespace, which is called Rajesh. Okay, so can I try that access? So let's try first. Remember, this is the one. Okay, get pod. Earlier I was getting the authentication problem. Now okay, so guys,
Happened, people could have rerun with the same command with a different
Now
name.
use a namespace. I think it will.
That's just the missing certificate.
someone has spoiled my things. Just a second, I'll correct it. Config view. So where is employee? Okay, so I need to remove it. User employee. So, but during that addition, they might have given you that already is there. Did you overwrite it? Okay, kubectl config -h. Let's do this. Okay, now let me try. Sorry, I think there was some different command actually. Okay, oh, wait a second. I think my bad. I think auth. Yeah. I corrected with mine. Now let's see that. See here. Employee cannot list pod in the API group in the namespace office. Where's the office is coming then?
Command you define the namespaces office.
Where? Ah,
Yeah, over there, yes.
yeah. Rajesh. Now done. So see earlier, before that demo, I mean this demo, last demo, I was getting the forbidden access, but now I got the access. Okay. Now can I delete that that role binding and role? So let's do this. QCTL get role hyphen n is equal to Rajesh. This is the one. So can I delete this? Delete what? Role. Which role? This role, and I deleted. Can I do the get pod one more time? See, this is the RBAC issues, by the way, and you have to delete the role binding also. Role binding and delete that role binding. Delete. A role binding and name of it. Done. See, access denied. So guys, this is the way you can do that. Add the access to the specific role and role binding, and add the specific to that particular user. Guys, is that understood by everyone?
Yes.
Okay, now I will set that not at the namespace level, but the cluster level. And if you want to set up for the cluster level, you have to do the cluster role binding. So let me copy paste some of the example code here. Role binding done. Cluster role binding. So let's get started. So here we are trying to understand the cluster role binding. So guys, here let's create a cluster role binding. Let's start from here. So first one, cluster role binding, usually we do the service account. You can do the user also, that's not a problem, but normal user also, but typically. So I'm creating a one service account. Okay, look at this. This is the simple Technotree admin. I'm creating one admin. Okay, so for that visa.yaml. Now QCTL create hyphen f SA. Now get SA. See here, I got this here. Now by mistake I created this ID, this account for a default. So you can create for Rajesh and Rajesh. So here I created for Technotree admin. Okay. Now after this, what are you going to do? You create this essay and stuff like that. After that, you are going to create a, this time I'll do through command line. Okay. So this is the command line. What you are doing, cluster role, create cluster role. Name of the cluster role is cluster role ones. And what are the access you want to give? These are the access. So here I am creating this cluster role. Before that, just a second, qctl get cluster
Then
role.
you created for default.
What is this?
I think nothing. Sorry.
I'm creating cluster role. This is the name of the cluster role I created, and resources you will have a access pod. Okay, understand that this access only to the pod. Okay, now cluster role created. Now I'll do the binding. So how do you do the binding? Through command line. This is the bind. You can have a YAML file also, but I'm just giving you command line, so you'll get a comfort with the command line also. So this is the, see, cluster role binding. What is the name of the binding? What role you want to bind it? So cluster role. See, this the name is not correct. So here it should be this one. Okay. And which user? So user I forgot. Technotree admin. So Technotree admin. So I think it's correct. So here I am binding this admin. So done. Oops. Binding is okay. Binding is not a namespace level, I guess. Yeah, binding is not namespace. Yeah, that's correct. Cluster role and role binding is not a cluster level only. So I did this. After that, what are you going to do? You're going to set your config map. So, and then do that. So overall, this is done. Now this user will get access to entire cluster, which is, just a second, entire cluster, and he will get the access to, he will get access to get list watch. Did you understand this? Now this service account you can use for the internal services wherever you want.
But did we create the
Make sense,
user,
guys?
Rajesh?
No, I created, no, here it is user SA. See.
Okay. Yeah. Got it. Yeah. Okay. That is, you did it on YAML file. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So now I'm sharing with you all this stuff also. So let me see what I have shared already. So this is for role, this for role binding, and after that, just a second, I'll share the commands also, so you will get it as it is. So this is a role, this is a role binding, and after that you did again use with the logic, don't use command blindly. This is the one. By the way, you have to change here context and all stuff like that. So remember that, employee context, and for this I'm going to check here. So entire things here from I'm giving you. Here you have a code also and YAML file also. Done. Okay. Now again on our official website also you'll find very good example. So you can try also this one. I am pushing that notes to you. Day 4.
If you liked our Kubernetes session so far, please enroll for our channel membership $399 plan to get access of all the parts.
Done, guys. Committed. Go ahead. I'll give you 15 minutes for this. Try it out.
This
So
conference
those-
will now be recorded.
Yeah. So those who satisfy these 3 networking rules, for this, who is allowed to offer the networking services for the Kubernetes? Okay. So now, what are the models which is allowed, which satisfy these 3 criteria? These are the models. We call it Kubernetes networking model. One of the model is ACI, Calico, Canal, Selenium, CNI Genie, Contif, Contrail, Flannel, Nater, Multus, and Romana and ViewNet. So these are the one which is there. Now we need to understand, you need to understand also which one you want. It's completely depends on your requirement. What you want, which networking model which you want, it's completely depends upon your requirement. Okay. So again, let me tell you, each of these networking model itself is a different product. Yes, that's true. Installation is one line, but if you go inside the code of that product itself is a different product altogether. Installation has been made easier because of that YAML and then images concept and all stuff like that. So yes, all these are different implementation, different product. Most of the products are free and open source. So now you look at this here. What is a CNI? So CNI, container network interface, is the specification that act as an interface between container runtime and networking model implementation. Container runtime means Docker, and networking model implementation means the one which I was talking about. So look at this here, container runtime, which is Docker, container network interface, and then they have a different model like a Weave, which we installed it, Calico, Romana, Cilium, and all stuff like that. Okay, so these are the things. Now, what is pod? I think you know very well. So I'll skip this slide. Pod, you know that very well. Okay, but this you have to read it. Okay, so guys, the question is, how does every pod has a unique IP address? That's a question. How does every pod has unique IP address? So that is important. So if you look at this here, the pod IP is shared by all the containers in this pod. You know that. So you have multiple containers in a pod that is being shared by all the containers is sharing the same IP which is allocated to the pod. Now it is routable from the all other pods also. So you know that one pod can communicate with another pod across the host and the same host. So how that is getting the unique IP address? So you need to understand that on every pod, understand that on every pod there is a one container which is running, which we call it a pod container. Okay, pod container. Again, if you want to understand the pod container, please understand the workflow of the containers. You can create a container, start the container, stop the container, pause the container, unpause the container, and this is what I'm talking about. So there is a one pod container running in every Kubernetes node and one pod container per pod you get it. So what we call it? We call it this pod container as a sandbox container. Okay. Now what is the job of this sandbox container? That's the most important one. So the job of the sandbox container is to reserve and hold network namespaces. So that's true. Guys, I've been telling you, if you remember, I've been telling you each pod get network namespace. Actually, no. Now we have to change a little bit of, because we are deep diving into the networking. Actually, pod not got the namespace. Actually, namespace which is reserved and held by the POJ containers, because POJ is a containers is a physical entity. So here what happens, there is a one, each pod, there is a one POJ containers get created which hold the network namespaces, which is a namespace and net namespaces. Now this namespace, understand that this namespace which is assigned to the POJ container also shared by all other containers in a pod. So that means in a simple way, there is a one container, there is a one network which is assigned to the POJ container which is shared by the other containers also. Okay, by the way, can you tell me how many of network is network type is available in the Docker networking? If you have gone through my sessions, you know that.
2,
3, no?
3.
Overlay, host, and bridge.
Yes, yeah.
Bridge, none, and host, not overlay.
Correct, yeah.
And then if you want to have overlay, then you have to install the plugin that I did not cover anyways. It was not a part of our discussion. So host means all the containers share the network of host. So on a similar concept, what is happening here is all the containers which is sharing the namespace, network namespaces from the container which is POJ container. So what happens, understand that middle line, this way a pod IP does not change even a container dies. So let's say there is one pod and inside that there is a container. If the container dies, then that though also the containers never, IP address never change because of this reason. Okay, and the containers get replaced, the user container get replaced in his place. So what is the benefit for this? So the huge benefit for this IP per pod model is there is no IP or port collision with the underlying host. Yes, there is no IP or port collision with the underlying host, and we do not have to worry about what port the application use it, because IP addresses are different all the time, so it never have a collision. So now, did you understand this? How this POJ container is playing an important role by holding the network namespaces and shared with all other containers in that particular pod?
Yeah.
Yes.
So guys, with this in place, the only requirement Kubernetes has is that these pods IPs are routable, accessible through all other pods regardless of what node they are on. Because see here, what happens if you have only one node? Think about it, only one node. Then anyways the pod, each containers will get a unique network namespace from the host machine. Unique network name, so unique IP address also, though it's shared by the help of the POJ container. So that way uniqueness is there. But the question is how this IP address will be unique across the cluster. That is the question. How this IP address will be unique across the cluster. And second question is how this pod can access the other pod across the node. That is the question. Because the same host, that is okay. So that is what the problems we have to discuss. So now let's understand that how it works. I am talking about intra-node communication first. Look at this, guys. Okay, look at here, you have a one node, and in a node you have a ETH0. Now CBR0, what is a CBR0? Anyone has idea what is a CBR0?
It's a bridge.
It's a bridge. What we call it? Bridge, that one? What we call it?
Host bridge, sorry.
No.
What is your question?
What is the CBR0? We call it in the worker node or any node of the cluster? Guys, this CBR0 is nothing but a queue. Yes, you got it. It's a queue proxy. Remember, I told you queue proxy is a networking service. CBR0 is a networking service. So here ETH0 and bridge at the same place. Okay. Now this bridge only release the IP address because of based on the CIDR range to the VEth connected to the POCH container, and the POCH container, whatever the network namespace is, it get it shared with the other containers also. Okay, so this is how it is. So here Q proxy, CBR0 is a Q proxy, ETH0 is a physical network, and VEth which connect to the containers network interface with the help of the POCH container. That is how the uniqueness is there in the node, in the each node. But across the node, how can it be possible? So let's start from scratch. Okay, how this intra-node communication happens. This is the one node. Okay, look at this image. This is the one node, and in the one node, each node you get ETH0. You know that, right? Now each node we have a one network. You know that each network, each node you get a one network, and that is the reason we got a root namespace, root net namespace. Root name net names mean network namespaces. If you remember that each container get forget about the Kubernetes right now. Think about your Docker. Each container get what? One network namespace, one. Anyone remember?
Process
User namespace.
User namespace, one process map, and one mount. Remember, 4 things you get it. So yes, here each host also get one network, right, from the namespaces, kernel namespaces. So here you have this on top. On top of that, look at this image. Then on top of that, you run a pod image. Just look at the image. You can do the reading later point. First understand that. So here you see the pod. Inside a pod also you get a new network because of the POCH network, POCH container. I explained you in the previous slides already. Inside the pod anatomy, I already explained it to you. So inside a pod also you get the ETH0 because of the POCH containers. Now this ETH0 will connect to VEth0, and VEth0 which hold the communication with a bridge. See here. So think about it. If you are in a pod 1, you are inside a pod 1. Okay, you are inside a pod 1 in a way you are inside a container of the pod 1. Okay, so you will, if you want to reach out to the pod 2, how you will communicate? So basically, you know, ARPA, ARP request, right? ARP rules, right? It always try to the network traffic always try to go out of this network. It always flow out, right? It never flow inwards. It always flow outwards. That's a ARP rule is. So whenever you do that, some let's say you ping the pod 2 IP address, then what will happen? From ETH0 it will go to the VEth, and from the VEth it will go to the CBR0. Now CBR0 says, okay, I know this IP address because bridge only has released the IP address depending on the CIDR route set. So CBR says, I will not let you go out because I know this address. Okay, so they will send that to the virtual Ethernet, and from the virtual Ethernet. So that is way you can ping. Look at this image. Probably you will understand better. Are you able to see the animation?
not really.
And actually it's not running for some reason. Why it's not running? It's running. Are you able to see the animation?
Yes.
So look at this. Intra pod communication, how it happens. So if you want to reach out from the pod 1 to pod 2, CBR0 only, it never travel from the CBR0. It travel within because CBR0 knows that IP address, because this guy only has given that IP address, right? With the help of the networking model like a VBNet, Calico, and is that. So this is how the intra-node pod communication happen. Now this is okay, fine. But what about inter-node communication? That means pod is trying to connect from the one node to another node pod. So that's called inter-node communication. So how it happens? So let's not discuss too much. Look at this image. What happens here? Pod 1, if you try to reach out to the pod 4, then what will happen? Pod 1 will send that ARP request to the VEth0. VEth0 say, I don't know this IP address. So then VEth0 will send that to CBR0. CBR0 will say, I don't know this IP address. So it will send to the ETH0. Now ETH0 has a route table. right? IP tables. So IP table has a CIDR set for every host network, every bridge. Now this question is how this each bridge get the unique CIDR, who's assigning it? So that is a job of networking model. That is a job of networking model. I don't know whether you notice or not. You, after the discussion, you are going to notice this one. What happens? Look at this here. So guys, understand in a basic way. Forget about the Docker, forget about the Kubernetes, forget about everything. Just remember, you have a physical machine, desktop or laptop. Nowadays, actually, it's not there, but earlier we used to do that. So when we install this operating system, we install the operating system, and Ethernet card is there in the laptop, and you connect to the internet wire. Sorry, in network wire or internet wire. Do you get the network or internet?
Yes.
Do you get a network or internet?
Yeah.
Okay, so probably you are in a new age. I'm asking
And
someone
you
who's
need
very
DNS,
old age. What is the
DNS and DHCP to actually get automatically access to internet.
That's okay. I mean, I'm talking about not internet, network. I mean, do you get a network?
We have to
You have to
configure
install the
IP.
driver, you mean to say?
Install the drivers, device
Yeah,
drivers.
drive.
NH drivers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
drivers.
So guys, yeah, this driver, see, Ethernet card, it is a physical device earlier. Okay, earlier physical device which is there in desktop and laptop, and then on top of that we have a driver. Nowadays, driver comes along with the operating system only. Unfortunately, I mean, it's a good one, but it's earlier we used to install it, driver. So when you install, what is a driver basically? It is a software. Software means it's an algorithm. Algorithm means how this network packet should be sent from the desktop to network and from the network to desktop. This is the kind of work which will be doing this software. If you have a hardware. Now in the age of the virtualization, this Ethernet got converted to the VETH. Okay, VETH. And then this software we got converted to networking model. Okay, so now this networking model, network policy, VNet is one of this. It's a software. It's software which guides you how the network packet will travel from the pod to host to all this stuff. What happens? Look at this here. Understand this. This is a one node. Just a second, guys. There's some noise coming from my side. Okay, so there is a one node and there is a one node. Okay, now see here, and there is a master node. So when you install kube-proxy is here also, here also, here also. Ethernet is here also, here also, here also. But have you noticed that that discovery services was pending? We did the setup, no? I explained you also.
Yeah.
Correct. So why it was
Yes.
pending? Because kube-proxy was running, because this is just application. Okay, this is the application which provides the networking services, but to the host. But discovery service was not at all able to travel through the one node to another node, another node to another node. It was not able to discover the whole things together. Okay, so because of that, what has happened? We given the VNet. VNet we installed overlay network. Now VNet, and with the help of the power of the proxy, here we create. So here if you see VNet divided into two parts, server and client. Here you have only client VNet. You need to check that pod very carefully. Okay, so now what happened? This server has a certain default CIDR range. So each kube-proxy got the unique CIDR. Yes, unique CIDR. This kube-proxy also got unique CIDR. Okay, so because of this proxy, this is a proxy which is a bridge now. Because of this client, this is a web proxy client, you got the unique CIDR. So of course this proxy will give the IP address which is as part of the CIDR only. So every node, understand that every node, this guy released the unique CIDR, and because of that IP address of the pod is cluster wide, it's become so unique. Are you getting my points? Guys, are you getting my points?
Yeah.
Now the question is, can you set this CIDR? Yes, you can set this CIDR. If you want to customize those, you can do it very well. But there's a default range setup to ease of work. So now, because of that, now the question is that you got a CIDR. So here you have a two things: IP table and routing table. Yes, these are the two things. Each host you'll have IP tables and routing table. Who manages this IP table and routing table? So this is managed by this client. Yes, this client only send this. Understand this. Any new pod got created here, so this client will send this to the server, and server will update all the other proxy also, saying that okay, this IP address we got it, and discovery services also got created. So this what is something happens. So now back to the slides here. Now what is happening? Look at this here. Here pod trying to travel from the one node to another node, pod 4. So what happens here? That packet is been sent to the VS. VS says I don't know. So VS says I have to transfer to CBR0. CBR0 also says I don't know. Then ETH0, CBR0 here it check the routing table and IP tables map, and they analyze, okay, this IP address is hosted in this IP address of the pod is hosted in this node IP address. So this CBR0 send this packet with some header information to ETH0 to travel to that particular node, and then after that it travel to the particular node through IP address on the physical network, and then that ETH0 send that packet to the CBR0. CBR0 says I know this IP address, this is mine, let me redirect to that, and that is where that pod 4 it goes through that. So this is called across the node pod to pod communication. Did you understand this, guys?
Yes, Rajesh.
Yes.
Okay, by the way, let me tell you, this is the simplest model which I explained you. There are more than 30 models are available, and AWS has their own model, Azure has their own model, GC has their own model, vSphere has their own model, Alibaba has their own model of the networking for the Kubernetes. And again, I showed you so many models for the those which I discussed in the initial slides. So many models are there, guys. This is one of the simplest model just to understand that networking. I explained it to you. Okay. Now you can read it. This one a little bit later. You understand the POC containers also. So now the question is, how do you find which model is good for you? So which model you have to select, because ultimately you have to find out the model, because everything, see, kubeproxy is the application, networking application. It will not work without a model, without a software. So which model you want it? Model means software, the programs, algorithm which you need it for that pod to pod communication and stuff like that across the node. So which model? So if you want to understand which network policies and model you want to, you have to go back to the networking class, and you have to understand OSI model. Okay, so I'm sure everyone might have studied this model, OSI model. I used to remember this as a like AbstraNet DP. AbstraNet DP means application presentation session transport, network, data link, and physical. Okay, so there's a 7 layers of it. Okay, look at this. Transmit the data from the application to physical, and receiving the data from the physical to application. That is how it's been sent. So you have AbstraNet DP, application, presentation, session, transport, network, data link, and physical. Did you understand this, guys?
Yeah.
So now these are the 7 layers, and each layer has certain significant. Now if you look at this here, see, first 3 layers is being called as a soft layer. First 3 layer is being called as a soft layer. Last 3 layer is being called as a hardware layer, and the middle layer is a transport layer. It's a heart of OSI. Okay. Now these are the some of the explanation which you have, but I would not like you to get lost in everything again, back to the basics and all. But I would like to read only layer 3 and layer 2, because that's where I need it more. Okay. Network layer and data link layer. So now if you look at the layer 3 network layer, it route and relays data unit across the network of nodes. Yes, network layer manages flow control and call establishment procedures, and transfer the layer 2 transfer the data. First one is establish the connections, and second one, data link layer, transfer data unit from the one network node to another over the transmission circuit, ensure data integrity between the nodes. So this is the L2, we call it in short L2 and L3. So please remember only L2 and L3 for time being. If you have interest to know more about this networking, you can go and read in offline hours. Now, which are the protocol which works on the which are the layers? So just look at the L2 and L3 only, guys. So L2 you have Ethernet, SLIP, PPP, and FDDI protocol. L3 we have a packets and IP, IPsec, ICMP, and IGMP. These are the protocol which works on this. Now, some of the functions. So look at the L2. L2 read the MAC address from the data packet, and examples are switches. Okay, so networking switches you might have studied, that works on the data link layer. Now L3 read the IP address from the packet, and that works on, for example, routers, which basically L3 and layer 3 switches and stuff like that is available. Look at this here, layer 2 networking. Please read this. The data link layer of the OSI networking model, layer 2 deals with the delivery of frames between the adjacent node. Yes, adjacent node on the network. Ethernet is a noteworthy example of the layer 2 networking with a MAC represented as a sub layer. Okay, so Ethernet, ETH0, whatever you do, that works with a layer 2, because this Ethernet works between the two nodes to transfer the data packets, data frames. Okay, now what is the layer 3 networking is doing? The network layer of the OSI networking model, layer 3's primary concern involve routing packet. Yeah, routing packet. For a layer 3 you need many things actually. You need IP table, you need routing table, many things you think. So layer 3 primary concern involves routing packets between the host on top of the layer 2 connection. Layer 2 is a layer 2 is a data link. Okay, layer 2 connection, and IPv4, IPv6, ICMP are example of the layer 3 networking protocol. These are the example of networking 3 protocol. Now guys, you have to understand, get into the VXLAN concept also. I'm not getting deep dive into that because this VXLAN itself is a very complicated topic. To be honest, I'm not very expert in a VXLAN also, but I understand at the high level. You have to go and understand the overlay networking also, how this overlay networking works basically. You have to understand what is the encapsulation between the network sending the data packets between the two hosts also. You need to understand how this mesh network works also. You need to understand how the BGP protocol also works. It's one of the major main protocol for the L3 and BGP. Now VXLAN, you need to understand the VXLAN also, how this VXLAN create the network Ethernet, and then for the datagrams and stuff like that. Then it comes for route table at the kernel level. Yes, each host you have a kernel route table that basically helps you to route from the one node to another node. Okay, IP address, and this will help you. Then again we have IP tables also. So look at this here, this is the kernel, this is the kernel route table. So in the kernel route table, what you have? Route table. Okay, what you have? Source host, gateway, and destination host. So every mapping you will have in the kernel route table. So from where you should go to where and how it should go, everything you have in this. You need to understand also IP tables. IP tables is managed by your software. Okay, basically it's based on the CIDR. And finally, this is the important. So yes, again guys, all the technology related things you have to study. What is a broadcast, BGP, VXLAN, encapsulation, blah 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 things, but this is important. So here you have a L2, L3, overlay, and cloud. Cloud anyways is out of scope because they have their own networking model. If you see here, pod communicate using L2, they use the technology which is called L2ARP. Okay, and broadcast. Here no double encapsulation is available. But if you are using the pod traffic is routed in underlay network of L3, then protocol is being used as a BGP. Here also no double encapsulation is there. But overlay, which is the pod traffic, is encapsulated and uses underlay for the reachability, which uses the BX-LAN protocol, and it has a double encapsulation. Now the question is, which is good for L2? So L2 is basically network physical layer. L3 is a Calico. You can use Calico, the one which you or some of you have asked for. If you want to use L3, you can use Calico. But if you want to use overlay, then you can use Flanon and ViewNet. These are the popular solution which is available apart from the one which I discussed. Again, cloud like AWS, EKS, ACS and all, they have their own implementation which is out of scope. Now, how this overlay approach works, look at this here. There are two nodes. Look at this very carefully, this image. There are two nodes. Both the nodes is connected through the network. Okay, and they have a gateway also. 192, 168, 1.1. Now you see that each node you have a routing table. Now who's updating this routing table? This is the model, the model which is like a ViewNet, Calico, ViewNet and Flannel, not Calico. Okay, so each node you have a routing table. Okay, routing table has all the IP address which node it belong to. That means they have the IP address range and then which node it got assigned to. And how is got the routing table get updated? Because of that, there's one server, Weave server is running inside your master. They update it because master only create a pods and they assign this IP address automatically. It has all the information, so they'll update the routing table with the help of the client which is installed in the each node. So that's the reason you see ViewNode client is installed in the each node also. Okay, so here you have a routing table. So now if you want to travel from the one node to another node over the overlay tunnel, then this is how the communication happen. Look at this. Pod 1 reaches to the container bridge, which is a queue proxy, to the CNI. They travel to the tunnel, a special tunnel between the node 1 and node 2, and then over the physical network only, but they create a special tunnel for that. Okay, so they do not share that packet with the physical network. That's called overlay network. Okay, so they create a special tunnel on the physical network only. So they travel from the node 2, and from the node 2 again container bridge decide where to transfer that stuff. So this is called overlay approach. Now if you see that L2 approach, of course it travel through the network, the existing network itself. So here you see pod 1 to cube bridge to the bridge with the physical network, which is the ETH0, and then after that it travel through the different network. This is L2. This is L3 approach. Here what happens? They pod 1 travel to the container bridge, and container bridge talk to the routing table. Routing table say that okay, that node you need to travel, and that node again routing table transfer that to the container bridge and from the pod 3. So this is the L3 approach. So guys, did you understand this approach? Overlay approach, L2 approach, L3 approach?
Yes.
Okay, now Calico. Calico is one of the most important networking model or policy, whatever you want to call it. We have it, and it has a multiple component. And again, ViewNet also has a multiple component, but Calico also has a multiple component. If you really want to deep dive into the Calico, it's an open source product. It's a very good product. Anyone can go and check the source code and all. There's a website also. So Calico. Now, as part of the Calico networking model, they have a multiple component: Felix, the plugin, etcd for the database, for routing table, IP tables, and all stuff like that. BGP client for updating the etcd, and route reflector. So these are the components we have, and this works in a with a different purpose. So yep, what is a Calico? So Calico is a container networking solution created by Tigra. While solution like a Flannel operates on layer 2, Calico makes use of layer 3 to route packets to pod. The way it does this is relatively simple in practice. Calico can also provide network policy for Kubernetes. Okay, so this also provide for the Kubernetes. Now these are the main component: etcd for the storage, bird for the updating the information, comdit for the configuring, and Calico Felix, which is the client. So this is the architecture. Again, it's work on the pure BGP and IP to IP encapsulation is there. And more information about the etcd I will let you allow to read, just making you comfortable. Bird, Confidi, Felix, and that's all. So now this is the Calico VNet. You have already installed it. Now the question is, how do you install Calico? So nothing more, just go to the Calico website. Here it is, and look for the YAML file where it is. Project Calico. That's our commercial organization for the same product. Now, how do we install? So they have changed this docs. Just one line of code, you get it. Install Calico, Kubernetes. And guys, copy paste this. They have changed this whole things. Okay, no problem. Yeah. So install Calico. Yeah, just two lines here. This one and this one. So first you have to remove the VNet. First remove all the ports. Understand that all the ports, and then install this Calico. We are done. Now this will be happening on L3. Last one was what? Overlay. Did you understand this?
Yeah.
So important thing, how Calico works, that's the most important thing. So you have to read about each and every components. Again, a lot of documents you can find it here. And before that, Calico, I must request you to go through that basics of networking. You should know what is the IP table, kernel routing table, BGP protocol, VXLAN, encapsulations, switches, routing, bridge, not modem, all these things you have to know that. Software related things, not hardware related. Any questions, guys? Okay, so yeah, I will not disturb this VNet. Last day, means tomorrow, end of the day, before destroying the cluster, I will remove all of it and then apply this command. That's all. It's nothing, just like you install VNet, same way you install the Calico. Make sure that the cache is cleared. I have 5 tables and all the ports has been deleted. Basically clean up environment. L3. Okay, guys. Any other questions what you have?
So I have
Thanks for watching. If you liked our Kubernetes session so far, please enroll for our channel membership $399 plan to get access of all the parts. Along with that, you can access our other tutorials such as Docker, Ansible, Jenkins, Terraform, Splunk, AWS, Azure, and various other DevOps related premium tutorials with our channel membership. If you would have any issues with our channel membership, you can drop an email to us at contact@devopsschool.com, or you can also unsubscribe from channel membership anytime if you don't want to continue or did not like the video. To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the $399 plan and grow your skills immensely.
Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries. We will reply to them at the earliest.
Thanks for watching.